Our next reader tonight is Andrea Cladis, and she holds an MFA from Fairfield University and is summa cum laude graduate of Elmhurst College with degrees in English writing, interdisciplinary communications, French, and secondary education. She's a former journalist and high school English teacher. She currently works as a college professor, freelance editor, writing consultant, and fitness professional. She has worked for Del Noir Hospital's Marketing and Public Relations Department, Sage Academic, The Greek Star, various literary She has worked for Del Noir Hospital's Marketing and Public Relations Department, for neighborhood magazines, and as a feature writer for Shaw Media. She has been published by Sage Academic, The Greek Star, various literary journals, and online publications, including Thought Catalog, Elite Daily, and Patch.com. She is also the author of the memoir Tatsimo Hold On from Adelaide Books, the Christian nonfiction book Finding the Finish Line, Navigating the Race of Life Through Faith and Fitness, with Crosslink Publishing, and the poetry collection Forgotten Coffee from Adelaide Books, which she will read from tonight. She has written extensively for online news websites, print magazines, local newspapers, and social media blogs. Known for her local opinion columns, Andrea's writing has been described as emotive yet brazen, seasoned with thinly veiled cynicism and a pinch of sarcasm. Andrea is an advisory board member for the Thinly Veiled for Cambridge Scholars Publishing. She owns her own freelance writing business, Tanager Writing, am I saying that right? And maintains a personal site about faith, fitness, and writing, which can be explored, and her website is on the program. So, welcome, Andrea.
Well, thank you all for being here, and for Catherine. I recently met her I think it was last month, so it was a pleasure to meet her, and I learned more about Republic of Letters and Waterline, and so this is all a little bit new to me, and so I'm just really happy to be invited and be involved tonight. The book I'm reading from tonight is called Forgotten Coffee. I have written nonfiction, fiction, and poetry, but by far poetry is my favorite. So this is probably, of the other two books I've published, I'm most excited about this one because I just love poetry. I love the way you get to have each poem stand on its own and each word has a specific purpose in a poem. So I get the question a lot. This book just came out last month, but the only question I've gotten so far is, why did you name it Forgotten Coffee? That's a weird title for a poetry collection, because people usually just call it like dog songs, or just a simple, something that maybe gives it a little direction. So I'm going to explain that first, and then I'll share a few of the poems. So actually, the title comes from two things. One is the lead poem in this collection, which is more of an epic poem, which I'm not going to share tonight. It is discussing what happens when people lose their memory and they forget things. And so it comes directly from my experience of someone I knew in graduate school who continually forgot things and left things behind, but never remembered that they did it. And so the poem was about this person who continually forgot that they were either brought coffee or that they had coffee or something happened. So I kind of got into that theme, and then I spent a few months researching types of coffee, and I was like, this is interesting because coffee is like a universal thing. People drink coffee worldwide. I remember being in Greece and we'd read the coffee grounds, and so just like how it's an interesting cultural thing. So how I ended up putting this collection together was around like the different feelings and different sort of elements of coffee. So it serves like as a metaphor for the collection. So it's in 4 parts. The first part is called Breakfast Blend. So the first section of the poem is about, they're like kind of happier poems. They're upbeat. They're about the waking of the day. I have a poem about when you just, you meet nature along a trail. So kind of just like the more upbeat poems, what you think of when you wake up in the morning, hopefully on a good day. The second section is called Espresso. So it's more of poems with a sense of urgency, or there's a sense of anxiety within that section. The third section of poetry is called Macchiato. So it's a little bit more of the, I guess more like, romantic section. So I have some love poems in there and some different kinds of, just more of like the bigger life ideas, because I feel like if you get a macchiato, you're sitting and thinking a little longer about life. And then the last section is called French Press, and that's a little bit about, it's more of like a contemplative, meditative section. So I kind of did that with the idea that you'd pick a poem from a section with your cup of coffee, and maybe it would fit your mood. So that's where that kind of title came from. So there was some strategy behind the title. And then I'm going to share the preface to just give you a kind of a lens about what the collection's all about together, and then I'll share a few of the poems. Forgotten Coffee is a poetry collection that explores the human spectrum of emotion through examining the compulsions of living in an unpredictable world. A tight lens is placed on the haunting nature of time, the continual balance of joy and grief, and the wrenching yet rousing experience of lost love. Forgotten Coffee is complex in its scope with the inclusion of humorous poetic anecdotes alongside the magical notion of believing in and living with a healthy dose of whimsy. The ecstasy of love realized and analysis of peril that exists within the human condition provide breath to this collection. While the coffee of life might be forgotten, the extended metaphor within this collection is that we must always honor who made the coffee, how we connect to it, and why its animating impulse enriches our lives. For it's oft the simplest things in life that are the most responsible for activating our emotional, physical, and spiritual responses. The objects in the margins are the invisible catalysts of our collective perception. So the first poem I'm going to share is called Santa Monica Beach. I will never forget the luxuriant day we met. Flowers of paradise, fluted glasses, flirty Moscato wine. You an Army pilot, me a dancer. We were barely 23. Santa Monica Beach was where you first put your hand in mine. Your warmth whelmed me. The sun cast away shadows from your kind, handsome face. You returned the 4th week of every month. Your dark eyes drew me in. Gentle hands excited my skin. My pleated blouses, your tan corduroy. The dancer, the pilot, one day to marry, have children, one girl, one boy. Last week, a vacant beach. The sergeant said they couldn't locate your plane. Memories masqueraded. Pain strapped my chest. A whisper heard, but no one around. Uncertainty, the lone, vital sign. Our love stolen by the innocent sky. All right. Next poem, a similar theme of lost love. It's called 7 a.m. Sound is sorry silence. Time lurches past his empty, chalk-dusted chair. He is an absent memory released only by aching want. Unkempt linens refuse to catch stale cookie crumbs. Untouched cereal sugars the milk in my breakfast bowl. Boiling water spills, blistering my toes. Ice tames my twitching thumbs. Our wooden spoon splinters my soggy hands without appetite. His unopened mail feathers my briefcase, snickering at my agitated hands, clutching the sneering spoon. Spoiled peaches permeate the back wall of my muted throat, softening the hollow air devoid of oxygen. I envy their decay. All right. The next poem I'm going to share is kind of a little different from like a grief or lost love. It's what's called like a dialectic or a dialogue poem. It's a conversation. So in this poem, the conversation is essentially the reader having the conversation with the author and wondering about what's happening in the outside world. And this was inspired by our sort of endless news cycle. So you'll kind of understand why. All right. It's called Amnesia Asks the Question. Are you aware of what was on the news? My friends ask as if I must know. I should know. How dare I be so ignorant? I tune into the news. Another shooting. Government shutdown. Those damn Democrats. Those useless Republicans. The world's on fire. Everyone's fighting wars. I inquire in desperation. What are we even fighting for? The news chimes, we promise. The news repeats, we swear. The news insists on immediacy. It's always do or die. I am free in nothing. The cycle endless, the TV flashes, colors, words, images, art. The radio cacophony of belligerent talk show hosts aggravates my peaceful drive to work. We interrupt your programming for this special news brief. The digital propaganda clutters my mind. Did you hear the news today? Amnesia asked the question again. Bickering, taunting, frivolous chatter, what in the hell does it even matter? Are we entertained by grief or death? Are we ever amused by grief? Are we ever so well trained to keep everything that's unjust brief? Everything the same, enough to make everyone insane. Terror here, comedy there, science moves the world? Why the need for shouting rants? Why the repeated useless chants? I'll think for you, they dare to say. I know what it is you want. We are here to ignite your doubt. We are here to fuel your rage. Why am I still listening? Yes, we are here to tell you how to think and how to feel, how to vote, and what to eat. Everything's still the same, the infinite refrain. Wonder, wallop, fear, excite, argue, coddle, stir the fight. Mornings at 4, 5, 7, and 10. Evening news at 4, 5, 7, and when? My friend Amnesia asks, did you hear the news? No, I muted the radio. That's enough for today. All right. And then I mentioned in the preface that there's some humorous anecdotes, not a lot, but there's a few. So here is one of them. It is called Holy Art Thou Underwear. You'll know soon what it's from. All right. A grand eruption, a volcanic force, a vibration so intense, I trembled. Gripping sheets, compelled to inflation by fatal flatulence. Parachute pants as holy boxers. Can you believe it's all one man? I prayed into the building warmth. Father, thy will be done. Through the smoke cloud, a gasp for clean air, a glimmer of white. I rolled over to kiss him, and that's why he made me his wife. All right, so going in an entirely different direction from that one. This poem is called The Prince, and it was inspired by a book called The Book Thief. It's by Marcus Zuzak, and I think I pronounced the last name, but the narrator in the story was Death, and I was kind of inspired by that idea. It's a creepy poem, but that was the inspiration for it, and it's a difficult story too. The Prince. Mining the deaths of fallen souls, my bestial breath waits for each one to drop, pleading to their God for another chance at the fields of fragrant flowers and ivory angels. I love when he denies them. I tell them the darkness heals. My dreamy eyes lure them to the lands where their light becomes charcoal black and sleep is never had again. The funeral of the soul is my eternal beauty. I can't wait for the next fallen hand that reaches down only to me. Tethered by time, I slink into the bathroom, trailed by my robe's shadow. The mirror reveals gray hairs lining up on the crown of my head, the fading brunettes of a prime lost to time as regret stares back at plummeting expectation. Why, mirror, do you imitate my physical compunction? In its reflection, the clock of 4:30 reads 8:30, or does it say 7:30? The mirror is still judging me, but I can't see the gaps of time I missed, the time I spent as a teen, refusing to eat, wishing to die. The sun on the cusp of the horizon says, it's morning. The birds in their chambers of ruffled feathers echo their songs on the telephone line. The chirping of time scares me. How much do I have left? Time wasting perfection. The clock, now at 3, the mirror perches it at 9. The thumping in my chest grows when the mirror mocks my soft whites and grays. The creases in my forehead breathe into the corners of my eye. Where is the little girl who once idolized her image in the mirror? What contempt I have for the chore of living. The routine march of days has made me old. Wake up with wrinkles, wake up with shock, wake up with a souvenir to say, we never stopped the clock. Time evaporates as the birds sing. The mirror looks on, and I ask for help to wash away the wrinkles and comb away the grays, to give me a second chance. Tethered to the cadence at 4 o'clock or 8, at 3 o'clock or 9. I'll read share a couple more. All right, so this next one is kind of close to heart. It was inspired by a few gentlemen I knew in college who went to fight in Afghanistan and never came back. And so it was a reflection on the anger that I felt in response to that, and that I could only imagine other people might feel if they were closer to the people as parents or loved ones. It's called Wait, Walk, Run, Bleed. I wait for truth and the promise the men will return. The war they are fighting is never over. I wonder if they lose, do they come home alive? If they win, do we count the bodies? I walk towards a placid riverbank. I count 2 comforting pearl clouds, the sky and the river's reflection. Stagnant water, the clouds hog the rain. There's an otter covered in sticky Alaskan algae, nature's camo. Does he know I can see him? I walk towards a faceless sun. I run from swelling fear. The men are not safe. I wait for peace, the falling sigh, my breath distressed. His belly up to the sky, I tell the otter, I do not understand their bravery. We are floating. The static space between ambiguity and reality. His eyes close, silken fur expands into the water. He dives, he swims. Life goes this way. I walk towards a tottering tree, separated by a single stroke of lightning, and I run until the wound is cauterized. In a forest, alone, silent songbirds pucker their feathers. The men are not home. Right. And then the final poem I'll share with you tonight, more of a nature related poem, and since we're in March and the poem is called April Robin, we're hopefully coming around spring eventually. This was the literal poet in the woods talking to a bird, so that's where this comes from. All right, it's called April Robin, and definitely channeling like a William Carlos Williams, Robert Frost sort of style. April Robin, why aren't you singing? April Robin, why aren't you flying? April Robin, why are the skies still gray? Yesterday I saw your feathers shudder in early spring's winter winds. Your feet like two tripods balancing on the barren earth, nature's oft missing chess piece. April Robin, why isn't your chest orange? I thought dried mud covered your chest, but yesterday's rain didn't remove that dark stain. April Robin, why are you alone? April Robin, why is it so cold? April Robin, where are the others? Are their chests black in mourning too? Oh, April Robin, take off that ashen robe. Sing the new spring song. Warmth must be on its way. Oh, April Robin, please do boast of the sun's orange come May. Thank you.